Hello, I'm Anya Camau from Anya Camau Fashion Academy. Today, we are going to adapt your skirt block to fit you if you're above size 44. It's the second part as you already did it with your bodice block. Now we are operating on the skirt block. Fortunately, it's much easier. If you did it through the bodice, you'll go through the skirt easy enough. First thing, print out your size 44 skirt block that you've asked me for and received by email. It's free and you get this PDF document including 12 pages. Let's go with this skirt block as I did for the bodice. I will make it for Elizabeth, you already know her by now. Here is this skirt block in size 44. You see down the page size 44 and the number of pages. You have then to build up your block pattern. If you didn't do it before, go to my introduction page of my free pattern making course and watch the video I published there about this topic. At home, you're going to join these pages together with duct tape and get this skirt block. Here is the skirt block, all joined together with matching letters at each page corner. I take under my hand Elizabeth's measurements as I did for the bodice. Elizabeth is 1.52 meter tall. She is 102 cm at the waist and 121 cm at the hips. Just like we did for the bodice block, we get started with the heights. On the skirt block, we have only one height value to set, the hips height. The hips line sets where you are the widest and the waistline where you are the thinnest. Obviously, these values are changing a lot according to your morphology. Try to stick on this if you want to get elegant garments done, whatever your silhouette is. With Elizabeth's bodice block, we've moved up the hips line of 1 cm. That is, we've shortened this height between the waist and the hips. To remain consistent, I'm going to do the same on the skirt block. But I won't cut through like I did for the bodice. I will just draw a new line 1 cm above the 44 hips line, which is the junctions between the second paper row and the first one. I will make a parallel line here. With your own measurements, it will be different. I remind you that standard woman height is 1.65 cm. If you are taller than that, you will have to lower your hips line to give more height between the waist and the hips. And if you are smaller than 1.65 meter, you will have to shorten this height like I do for Elizabeth. Don't forget that much of the variation is falling within the leg's length. If you are 13 cm less like Elizabeth, you won't take off 8 or 10 cm. It should be way too much. You see that even though Elizabeth is 13 cm smaller, I take off only 1 cm height at the hips. For her, we only took off 2 cm at the bust, 2 cm at the waist and then 1 cm at the hips. That makes 5 cm in whole, and I think it's enough. But Elizabeth will check this with her own measurements. So we draw a new line, and since Elizabeth is smaller, I draw this line above the size 44 hips line. This is simple and easy. After you've decided of your own hips height, you draw this new line with a simple ruler. Lately, you will check during the fitting if this height is accurately set. It's always better to make a fitting cutting into a fabric scrap you may have or even an old sheet to check if your block fits you well. You don't need to care about the hem of a skirt as you will have a different length for each of your skirt patterns later on. We've done with the 8s for Elizabeth. Now we are going to adapt the width. First, we set the easiest one, the hips, as there's no dart on the hips line. So we are going to set directly Elizabeth's hips measurement. I measure carefully this hips line on the front and I find 26.3 centimeters. And 24.4 centimeters at the back. Then I sum up all and find 50.7 centimeters in whole. I currently have 50.7 centimeters along my size 44 hips line. You can note that the front is larger than the back, and this is correct. The bodice and skirt front pieces are larger for the side seam to move slightly toward the back by 1 centimeter and somehow disappear, so it doesn't weigh down the silhouette. To balance it, the back pieces are smaller by 1 centimeter in the opposite way. This is a well-known rule for all well-made block patterns. Back to our 50.7 centimeters, which are the half of the hips line, as my block represents only the half of the body. The double makes 101.4 centimeters for size 44 hips. Elizabeth is 1 to 1 centimeter at the hips. I calculate the difference and find 1 to 1 minus 101.4 and get 19.6 centimeters that I will have to distribute evenly between front and back. I take now the quarter of it and get 4.9. That means I will enlarge at the hips by 4.9 centimeters, while I'll keep my 1 centimeter difference between front and back width, and eventually get exactly the measurement of Elizabeth's hips. Don't forget that it's a block, that is Elizabeth's body's shape, with no extra volume or ease, thus a block cannot be used as a pattern. On my new hips line, I set 2 points out of the sides at 4.9 centimeters. Here are my new side points on both sides, and I set 2 other points at the same distance from the side down the skirt. Now I need only to draw a straight line on both sides between these points. You can see that I took off 2 centimeters as well at the hem, assuming that Elizabeth is shorter. Thus I only need to draw a straight line parallel to the block line on the side, this on the front, and this one for the back. Now we are going to work on the darts and these side curves to go up and join the waist. Classically, a nice fitting skirt has two equal darts at the front, each with 2 cm wide, and a larger one at the back, which makes 3 cm, with a smaller one, which is 1 cm wide at the middle. So that you get 3 plus 1 equal 4 cm at the back waist and 2 plus 2 equal 4 cm at the front waist. I advise you to keep them as they are, as far as you can. If your waist measurement is almost equal to your hips measurement, you will have to alter these darts. Remember, we had to alter them on the bodice block before. You must keep at least slightly curved side lines like this and avoid going up straight. Let's check all this according to Elizabeth's measurement. Elizabeth is 102 cm at the waist. As each block piece is a quarter of a circumference, I divide it by 4 and get 25.5 cm. First, let's try to keep all darts. We then add 4 cm of darts to this value and get 29.5 cm to set on each piece's waist. But remember, we have to move 1 cm backward the side seam with a larger front piece and a narrower back piece. On the front piece's waist, I had 1 cm and get 30.5 cm. But I note carefully down as it can be confusing. At the back waist, I take off 1 cm and get 28.5 cm. That I note down as well. Before I set a point at 30.5 on my front waistline, please note that this line is not a straight one. It begins with a right angle at the middle front, and that's very important, always right angles up the middle front and the middle back. This front waistline goes straight until the second dart and then goes slightly up along a tiny curve. That's why you have to measure it with your tape measure, setting it vertically along the line until you extend this curve to reach 30.5 cm. I do the same along the back waistline to set a point at 28.5 cm. Go slowly and measure carefully. Now I have to check if I like the side curve at the front between here, and the same on the back curves between here and here. I set my ruler to check the difference between my hips width and my waist width with all darts open, and find about 1 cm at the front. It is truly a minimum to get a nice curve at the side. If you get no curve at all, your skirt will be a kind of tube and make an ugly skirt. Here I like to add some difference to get a nicer curve. I measure the difference on the 44 size block, and as this curve is well rounded, and find out 2.5 cm of difference. I decide to stay in between, and as Elizabeth has well marked waist, I choose to set a difference of 1.5 cm instead. It's a personal decision, only to get a nicely curved side. You will have to make yours according to your own morphology, if your waist is narrow or not. Setting back my ruler, I set a new point with a 1.5 difference, and with my old point, I don't like that much. Moving that point in, I took off 8 mm. If I don't do anything, the skirt waist will miss 8 mm, so I have to find them back elsewhere. I then decide to take off 8 mm from my two front darts, taking off 4 mm from each, so I keep two small darts and get a nice curves on the side to make a nicely shaped skirt for Elizabeth. I then take off this 4 mm and set a point here, and do the same at the other dart. I just have to draw a nice external side to these dots with my ruler and with the old lines. You may not hear that on the contrary of the bodice, for which I cancelled the dot on the front, as I have a large dot and a secondary one. With a skirt block, it's nicer to keep two dots instead on the front waist. Here is the alteration I did to the dots to get a nicer curve to the side. Now we can draw this new sideline for Elizabeth's front piece. First, we go on straight up from the hips line with the ruler, and then I place my French curve with its most rounded part up to finish up drawing this sideline with the most harmonious curve I can find. It's a slightly bent curve that goes up, and when you close the dots, the top of this skirt will be nicely rounded. I also finish up the waistline with an almost flat curve to join the side point. Now we're done with Elizabeth's front skirt piece. Before I take care of the back, I measure the front sideline up the hips as I will need it later on because I must have the same length on both sidelines, front and back. If I find out some slight difference, I will balance it moving up one of the junction points between waistline and sideline. I take my tape measure and set it vertically along the curve as usual to get an accurate value, and I find 24 centimeters. I note it down for a last check at the end of this video. On the back piece, I first want to tell you about the small dot at the middle back. If you are quite arched with rounded buttocks, you have to keep this dot. If your back is more arched, you have to increase the dot width. On the contrary, if your profile is rather flat, you can decrease and even cancel the small dot. I decide to keep this dot as it's because I have no information about Elizabeth's profile, so I assume she stays somewhere in the middle. This small dot is not a secondary one, as it gives a nice shape at the back, so if you can, keep it. I adapt this back in the same way, so I begin to check the difference at the side between the hips and the waist with a ruler. I set my ruler along my side line and measure this difference. Here I find 1 centimeter. That means I'm missing only half a centimeter here to get balanced with the front side, where I set a 1.5 difference. I have to set the same difference as I did at the front side, as it's very important to get the same curve with the same length on both sides. As these sides will be sewn together, it's the only way to get nice vertical side seams. If you don't get the same values, your side seam will bend toward the front or the back, but won't remain nicely vertical as it should. I first set a point to get a 1.5 difference and beef the whole point. And I keep in mind that I took off 0.5 centimeter. To balance this, I have to gain 0.5 centimeters somewhere, and I decide to take it off from the large dot. I take 0.5 centimeter of this dot, add its extend side, and then draw the new dot side simply with my ruler. Easy and quick. I beef the old line. I just have to draw the new side line. First, I come straight above the hips, and then I will take my French curves. I will set its most rounded part at the waist to find the best curve, the most harmonious one, which will be very similar to the front side line. Then, to find where is located my waist along this new line, I just take back the measurement I did along the front side, which is 24 centimeters. And I go up from the hips line with my tape measure until I find 24 centimeters. Then I will finish up drawing my waistline, making sure that I get the same length on both sides. I draw the waistline between the large dot and the side. This curve is almost flat. Now we are done with the back piece of this skirt. A little reminder, what did I do to adapt this skirt block? I first shortened the hips height, then shortened the skirt hem as well. I enlarged on both sides at the hips and down the skirt as well. Then I found out the best way to adapt the waist and balance the values between the sides and the darts. That's why I took off a little from the darts and then I drew a new waistline on the sides. I advised Elizabeth to transfer this skirt block on cardboard to use it for a long time without damaging it. In my next video, I will take care of the pants block.